All right, here we go, guys. I got a Peterson, I got a Shapiro, I got a Weinstein, I got a Rubin. I feel I should go to you first because
Three Jews and a Canadian.
Yeah.
There it is.
I saw that movie. It was pretty good.
Not bad. You know, again, this sort of IDW term that Eric coined is so fascinating because everyone disagrees with everyone about nearly everything in this group. But because we don't want to shut down the conversation, it's created this whole audience for every one of us. Like each one of us, our audience has increased tremendously just by being part of conversations with one another.
So that's it to me. What is it you guys think about us and this wider group?
Awesome,
and
come on.
Just the awesomeness and the amazingness and all that. But like-minded people, we just happen to be the examples that are sitting here. That it is, for all the differences that we've talked about on gay marriage and abortion and death penalty and all of these things that I know we all have various disagreements on, why are we all okay with that? And so many people outside of this seem to not be okay.
Pro-choice and pro-life are both really limited positions, in my opinion. And it's just an example of one of many things that we have gained the confidence with each other that it's not going to devolve into name-calling if everybody plays in an honest fashion and uses the full capacity.
That's where it is. I mean, the honest fashion thing is, I think, what counts. I asked Sam about this earlier, so I was just doing a podcast with Sam, right? Sam said is that he thinks that what has changed is that there's a bunch of us who are not interested in the stupidest version of the argument.
Right.
So if I want to hear a pro-choice argument, I want to hear the most sophisticated version of the pro-choice argument and then see if I make an argument against that. I don't want the simplistic version of the pro-choice argument just so I can knock down the simplistic version of the pro-choice argument. Yes, it makes for a great Ben Shapiro Destroys video, right. but it's more fun for me. Like personally, I really much more enjoy engaging with the best ideas that somebody else has to offer than engaging with the worst ideas that you can pick out of a hat on Twitter.
That's really
well, so, I mean, one of the things that was useful for me, for example, in this protracted discussion with Sam is that my arguments are better now than they were. And you might say, well, why do you care if your arguments are better? And the reason I care about whether my arguments are better is because I know that my arguments are part of the toolkit that I use to operate effectively in the world. Like, arguments aren't just some abstraction that you hold that's disconnected from your actions in the world. And if my arguments are more fine-tuned and sharper, and if I'm able to account for a wider range of phenomena because someone has put forward facts that were hard for me to incorporate, then my toolbox is much more efficient and I can operate more effectively in the world. So I find it, well, it's a variant of your position. It's like I want to hear the best versions of the arguments that run counter to mine because I'd like to figure out where I'm wrong and I'd like to make what I'm doing better. And that's more important to me. It is literally more important to me than making sure that what I already know is right. Mm-hmm. Like, I'm confident in what I know, but I also know that I could do a better job of expressing it, that the system could be more dynamic, it could take more things into account. Like, I've got plenty to learn. And a real discussion with someone who objects to you, that's where you learn. So
I think
more power to that.
Temperamentally, I would say that I think there's a pretty easy test, which is when someone catches you out on a part of the argument that you've made, that you know was flawed, and someone catches you out, do you smile or do you get angry? Right? I think it really is almost that easy, because the truth is that there is something fun about the idea of having to rethink your position, and something adventurous about the idea that you haven't thought everything through, that there are these new vistas of thought that maybe you haven't considered before, and it does hone you. It makes you better at it. And it also allows you to, listen, life is funny, and it's funny that we're flawed human beings and that our logic is flawed. So there's a certain humor to the idea that somebody is exposing a rift in your thinking that you now have to deal with. It makes life fun. If you were just a stone all the time, it would be really boring.
I feel so happy to be at a table in which I can talk about things that are troubling me or bring out something I worry that says something negative about myself, that I'm having these thoughts, that nobody wants to be booted out of the group by virtue of grandstanding. And I think that kind of, it's really interesting watching people who would be thought of as being highly egoic behaving in a non-egoic fashion.
I think that part of that, too, is one of the things Dave and I have talked about, and the technology is enabling this. So we're not reliant, in some important sense, on external funding, let's say, to enable us to continue. So that gives us a certain amount of freedom. But another part of it is that, as far as I can tell, everybody who's participated believes that their audience is intelligent. And I think that that's also a reflection of that. I don't feel that I'm there to tell my audience a bunch of things that they need to know that I already know. When I'm conducting my tour, it's like, well, here's a bunch of ideas that I'm confused about still, and I'm going to use this as an opportunity to explore them, and I'm going to explore them with you, and you guys are going to come along for the ride, and that's going to be good for everyone. I really saw that with Harris in Vancouver, because we had as high level of an intellectual discussion as we could manage, and I would say it was approximately at the same level as a good PhD defense when the defense is going well, and the audience was with us the whole way, and they're participating in this discourse process. Far more important to participate in the process of discourse than to specify the outcome.
I think that's why, like Joe Rogan, for example, is so popular. When I listen to Joe, I know he's going on an intellectual journey that's going to take 3 hours. I don't know where the destination is going to be, but I know that the journey is going to be a lot of fun. Yep. And I think that that's what makes for success in this field. And so much of our politics, so much of our intellectual life has become...
Joe does the same thing that great authors do. It's like a distinction between Dostoevsky and Ayn Rand. It's like, you know where Rand is going to end, right from the beginning. Whereas if you read a Dostoevsky novel, you have no damn idea where that's going to come out, and neither did he. So he was exploring the ideas and formulating them as he went along, and that's true art, and that is what Rogan does, is that you know, and he's very good at that because he's a smart guy who isn't afraid of the fact that there's a whole bunch of things he doesn't know.
But does that kind of explain your success in a way? Because probably 4 years ago, when conservatives were basically only talking to conservatives, the way the left seems to only be talking to itself these days, you started doing a little of this, and I would venture to guess that you probably, in a way, feel more comfortable with this crew who you disagree with on a gajillion things than probably when you're hanging out with just a bunch of conservatives that you're like, yeah, we all agree on this stuff. And
well, I think I'm certainly more interested. I mean, I think that the idea that the fun conversations are the ones where you're surprised.
Yeah.
And I think we have yet to have a group conversation, or even a conversation one-on-one, because we all talk, one-on-one to each other too, where something surprising doesn't get said.
I gotta say,
and that
everything
makes
is so boring.
Everything
like for all the
a lot
chaos,
more
everything